As you know, Daniel Carey Whalen with the Centennial Museum in Chihuahua Desert Gardens. So well, I want to thank Mr. Pena for his presentation, and it was very enlightening. One of the things that I want to focus on is he had that great map. I love maps. I got a cartographer in my blood, I think, past life maybe, but that the biological diverse areas overlapped with the culturally diverse areas. So our mission in the Chihuahuan Desert Garden is to celebrate life in the Chihuahuan Desert. And so the Chihuahuan Desert, as many of you may know, is the most biologically diverse desert in the Americas, and one of the most biologically diverse deserts in the world. And then simultaneously, we know, one of the things that we're trying to do, there's a new exhibit that's the cards in your packet there of cultivating your home, is get people to recognize the beauty of the Chihuahuan Desert and the beauty of our home. And so I'm learning so much about my adopted home here. And one of those things I learned from Diego Medina, who's a Piramonte Tigua, who painted a mural in our museum. And he always is talking about the culturally diverse, how El Paso del Norte region was one of the epicenters of cultural diversity hundreds of years ago. And so the fact that those two overlap, as Mr. Pena was pointing out, is one of the things that we really focus on at the Centennial Museum in Chihuahuan Desert Garden, is that we live in biologically diverse and culturally diverse areas, and we want to celebrate that. I will take a moment to also say that we recognize that we as a university, we as a member of a university, also as a museum, we are a colonialist institution, right? So that I have to say that, and because saying, as I was kind of alluding to, everything takes small steps, and I think it's first by saying it. So we have to recognize our colonial past in order to move forward and to start shifting the boat. So we are trying to recognize it. It is not an easy process, and it takes time and it takes a village. As we were talking about here with all this group, it takes steps and steps that are going to start moving things, shifting things. And so we are working with the indigenous communities to help us to move the ship, so to speak. So that's what I wanted to focus on from what Mr. Pena was saying. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I am Fernanda with Eco El Paso, and that was just on the topic, talk about all the connections with the political economy. Got my notebook here: destroy capitalism before it destroys the planet. I've been aware, and in the groups that I mingle with, I try to bring that awareness and action around it too. So Eco El Paso has been active since 2007. I was first here a UTEP student and started the Students Green Team and utilized the Green Fund to make sustainability more accessible, and like all of the individual actions that we talk about, like bring your reusable water bottle. We did the grant to fill in the filling stations, and the bike fix it, and eco takeouts, the reusable clamshell container. So yeah, all these kind of had that consciousness that if it's not accessible, it's not even worth it to try to change people's habits or whatnot, because it's the systemic world we live in that's it's kind of crooked, and we can fix it though. There's so much action that we can do now as a team. And so currently Eco El Paso, we just launched our new project with a NOAA Planet Stewards grant. Really excited to get that going. It's to plant and propagate trees, and we've had a million trees. Million Trees is our overbranching collaboration with the city to try to regrow the canopy here, because I don't know if you know the past of the El Paso region, but it used to be a lot greener before all the damming and concretizing of the river. So they tell us it's a river, but really it can be a hell of a lot more green than it is now.
And the freeway.
Yes, and getting rid of the freeways. So we're active in campaigns to stop the growth of the city, and educating our city councilors and whatnot. We'll be present at a lot of their talks. And yeah, with the trees, really getting it connected to the educational sphere and developing a STEAM of projects, science, technology, engineering, and art. Art's important. Also, I'm a facilitator with Unity through Creativity, and have helped in a couple of these that you see around. Yes, and the one that my group did, I'm also working for economic reform, so all this political economy stuff really hits home because I've been working on the campaign for the just transition. And so our singing tree back there represents the vision for a just and democratic economy, and how we can collaborate for human exchange in balance with nature and putting people first, not profit first. And that's a whole bigger reform, but we're building awareness at a local level as well. I've planted the seeds in a couple of your organizations, planting the seed again that we would like to start a time bank and a library of things so that we can share and have less consumerism. And also this time bank allows for an alternative method of exchange where a person's time volunteering can be a way that they can access resources and needs and services. Trying to persuade a lot of people to participate in that. What else about Eco El Paso? Yeah, our president is also here. Blanca, raise your hand. And Josh will be coming later. And we have a little table with information, and we'd love for you to come join us. Let me check my timer. How long am I doing?
2.5 minutes.
Oh, all right. I'll talk on. I'll talk on. I'll just pass it along, and then we'll have more questions. Right?
Good morning, buenos dias. Veronica Carvajal. I'll give you a brief bio just because it ties into Dr. Divon Peña. I am a fronteriza. I was a lawyer with Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid for almost 20 years, and most recently I became a climate justice and civil rights organizer with Houston in Action. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit, and we're fairly new in the climate justice space. I'm not. I believe I was the first environmental studies graduate from Brown University in 1998. And this despite the fact that my great-grandmother and my grandmother were environmentalists who taught me so much of my values, especially in finding peace in the earth. And yet, at an institution that was already very old by the time I arrived, very few people of color were actually studying environmental issues, right? Even though our communities are often the most impacted. And that's when we talk about environmental justice, we're talking about environmental racism that dates back to the foundation of our country, especially with the colonization of First Nations, but also to redlining, to segregating people next to the most polluting sources, right? Even before the science could tell us about particulate matter, people knew certain people didn't want to live next to the power plant or the sewage treatment plant, etc. So in 1998, I published at the university my thesis on Chicanas and environmental justice. I had a lot of support from my professors. Dr. Divon Peña was someone that I cited to in my work, and my thesis focused on a recycling facility in East Austin. East Austin, like El Paso, was redlined in the 1930s and 40s by our federal government. Certain people could not get access to home loans, people of color, and they could not access loans at all, but also certain neighborhoods were not deemed worthy of being financed by lending. And so those are to this day, in El Paso, these are the neighborhoods that have the most pollution. Since when I came back, I did air quality work, and in El Paso, because of NAFTA, there was a lot of investment in studies Often these studies have not been walked all the way through, but they do give us a lot of information, right? And what I've learned since I was little is that the earth is trying to make peace with us, and that what is good for the earth is good for us. It is because of the things that we have heard, right? Capitalism, colonialization, the patriarchy, that we have forgotten that we are deeply loved by this planet, and that the planet is trying to heal us and is trying to show us better. But often the rub is always, in our community, poverty, right? The good jobs come first. And so in terms of going back to the studies that have been done, we know Dr. Hector Olvera, for instance, all of these folks are from UTEP, did a study indicating that when you are surrounded by things that are green, primarily plants and trees, your insulin levels go down. Dr. William Hartgrove did a study showing which kinds of trees absorb lead and other pollutants from our legacy pollution like ASARCO, silver recycling, etc. Dr. Alicia Aguiles, a very good friend, is showing us the power of the gobernadora, the creosote plant, in healing us as well as healing the soil. So many good studies. Dr. One-Way Lee has done a ton of studies on air quality. But there's still the disconnect, right? Even though we have had committees focused, Dr. Beatriz Vera has been involved with so many of these air quality issues, we still have a disconnect. However, there is power in mobilizing people. And just yesterday, there was an announcement that I still don't believe, which is that the semi-trucks will be removed from the Bridge of the Americas. This is a struggle of 30 years for people who said, even without the science, we cannot coexist next to commercial traffic, right? Our children, our elders, all of these things. And what happened after a lot of advocacy was that Familias Unidas de Tamizal, Mujer Obrera, women, this group began actually after NAFTA. And I see another lawyer, Carmen Rodriguez, in the audience. Carmen represented La Mujer Obrera because they were displaced, right? They were garment workers who were displaced by NAFTA. And then also their communities were hit hard by the pollution from NAFTA. I know I'm running out of time, so I'll try to be quick. And so this is all interconnected, right? We have been told in this community, with ASARCO, with El Paso Electric, with the refinery now with the trucking industry, you choose good jobs or good environment and good health. And what we know from ASARCO and other industries is that as soon as you become a financial burden or you are easily replaced, you will be. And so now we have trucks that are driverless, right? And so to the points that we're trying to do with the work that we're doing, it is really important as environmentalists to think ahead to alternatives and to also think of each other. And that is really, as Divan said, we must work collectively in order to heal ourselves and heal the planet that really does want to take care of us. And thank you all for being here and the work that you're doing.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniel and I'm part of the Chihuahuan Desert Climate Fellowship. A little bit about our organization before I get started about what I connected to the most is the city of El Paso is tasked with creating the region's first climate action plan. And instead of taking the money from the bond vote and from the EPA and saying this is what we want to do and here's what we're going to do about it, instead they built the Chihuahuan Desert Climate Collaborative. So this is an effort with all about 11 or 12 municipalities around us, including Hudspeth County. They also created the fellowship, which is a group of 27 fellows. And what our job is, as fellows, we're responsible for conducting outreach. So this plan is supposed to be as community-based as possible. We want to know exactly what the concerns about the residents are, what the projects they want to see are. That way, when we create this plan, it's not something that people said, we didn't want this is not going to work. It's something that the whole community can get behind. So what spoke most to me was actually kind of our definitions of what is the earth, because I think a lot of this plan moves from that kind of economic or kind of wilderness value of the environment, more towards thinking of it as our home. Because it is, like I said, very community-based. We want people to recognize that this is our home. This is kind of where we live, this is where we work, where we play, and we want to make sure that's a community that we're proud of and we can continue to sustain in the future. Like built into this, sorry, is like building that place-based solidarity he talked about, just to kind of get that as a whole community moving forward with the climate action plan. And also touching back on climate justice and equity to make sure that this plan helps the people who need it the most without really affecting people already. We don't want to harm others while we're trying to help.